Thank you for joining CPAL's webinar series, Winning Strategies for Staffing Businesses at Critical Times. Today's webinar, Understanding the Total Cost of Your Staffing Ecosystem, will be presented by CPAL's Vice President of Marketing, Peter Velikin. And after Peter's presentation, we'll have a brief product demo by Amar Chadipirella, CPAL CTO. Before we launch into today's webinar, there are just a few housekeeping items to cover. First, each webinar will be recorded and available on demand through CPAL's website. A follow-up email will be sent to all registrants with the webinar recording, presentation, and any other relevant material. Second, we will have a Q&A session following the presentation and product demo. All participants have entered this webinar muted, so please enter your questions in the chat box and we will address them at the end of the webinar. Thirdly, after the webinar, we will be releasing a brief survey on the impact of COVID-19 on the staffing industry. Your insights would be greatly appreciated, and we encourage you to complete the survey today. All participants are automatically entered into a raffle as a way of saying thank you. And finally, we just have a few polling questions we would love to launch before we begin. So I'll run 2 of these questions now, and I'll run the next 2 right before the product demo. So please let us know your thoughts, and then we'll start. So the first question we have today is, when do you believe your business will fully recover from the COVID-19 disruption? So I'll just give you guys a couple minutes to vote here. Okay, great. I'm going to close the poll. Okay, wow. So 60% of us said that business would fully recover in 1 year, and the remaining 40% were split between 3 months and 6 months. That's good. Okay, one more question. Which of the below areas of your business has been most affected due to this pandemic? So again, I'll give you guys about 30 seconds to vote here. Please do cast your votes, and then we'll move on to the webinar. Okay, great. Okay, so it seems the overwhelming majority thought that the lack of requirements and jobs from clients was the biggest effector, with project terminations and dip in productivity as distant seconds. Okay, wonderful. So we'll conclude the poll just before the product demo. But for now, I am pleased to introduce our presenter for today, Peter Velikin. We're excited to hear Peter's thoughts on staffing ecosystems. And with that, Peter, I'll pass it off to you.
Thank you, Sheila. And hello, everybody. And thank you for attending our webinar today. I'm excited to talk to you today about the cost and making optimizations to this cost for your staffing ecosystem. The webinar consists of 2 parts. First, I will talk to you about the various costs in different areas that we'll explore. And then in the second part, our CTO, Amar Chadipirella, will show you a live demo of how you can reduce those costs by 50%. You'll see this in practice. We will look into 4 areas. First, we'll look into the applicant tracking system and CRM costs. Then we'll look at the job board costs and how your software can have a big impact on these costs. We'll look in HR and back office systems. And then we'll talk about recruiter productivity and the impact that increasing recruiter productivity can have on your bottom line. Let's dive in. So the applicant tracking systems, they are a standard part for any staffing firm right now. In fact, simply adding an applicant tracking system typically would add 25% or more to your bottom line. While that's true, it's also true that applicant tracking systems are not the same. In fact, there is a wide variety in the ROI and in the benefit that they would deliver. Actually, this is the main reason why CPAL was started. Our founder grew very frustrated by what he perceived was a lack of innovation in the industry and what he thought were very overpriced systems that were lacking innovation and lacking value. So he set to build CPAL with a specific purpose to disrupt the industry. He set out several very important parameters for how CPAL should be built. He wanted it built into a modern platform that would enable rapid development and adding new technologies and capabilities. he wanted it to be very scalable, so it can scale from one to thousands of recruiters easily and seamlessly. So as your business grows, your system can grow with you. And he also wanted it set up on a platform that makes it very inexpensive and cost affordable to support clients. So you can actually end up having a disruptive pricing as we do, and you hopefully will see as we go down. So the first area to look at is the applicant tracking system license. Typically, the mainstream systems, you'll end up paying anywhere between $70 and $140 per user per month. For CPAL, it starts at $24 per month and goes down to as low as $19 per month per user as you add more recruiters. The CRM today, it's a standard part of every applicant tracking system. Yet a number of applicant tracking system vendors, they charge you for this module. So you end up paying anywhere between $12 to $15 a user a month for the CRM capabilities. For CPAL, that's included for free with your ATS-T. And the next one is the biggest head scratcher for me. There are a number of applicant tracking systems that still require you to stand up your own server. So yes, you could do it in the cloud, but you have to provision your server or servers. You have to pay for them forever. So that's typically about $250 a month that adds to it. But I think more than just this cost, it's really the frustration. You have to have an internal resource to set up those servers to manage at whatever cost this is to you. In contrast, CPAL, it's a truly modern cloud-based system. You don't need to stand up servers in the cloud. You don't need to have an IT admin to manage it. Your data set up and it's in the cloud. Now, most staffing firms have at least one report or some customizations that you really need for your business to do. And that's typically a big hassle. In fact, one of the kind of the funniest and the saddest comments that I typically hear from when I speak to customers and professionals from the staffing industries, that when they go to their applicant tracking vendor and they ask about a change, the answer is, well, that's how the system is built to work. Change your process because that's a feature. If you wanted to make a change, typically you have to pay $150 to $250 an hour, something project that would last 15, 20 hours. So you end up spending a few $1,000s a year for your needed reports or customizations. In contrast with CPAL, that you don't pay. Customizations are free. Again, our commitment is that we're there to support your process and we'll configure the system the way you need it. Data migration and the overall support is a big hassle, and typically that stops many staffing firms from considering changing their current system, even if they're not happy with it, because again, there is the concern about what will happen with my existing data. Will the support be there to migrate it? And how would they not think that when the quality of support typically it's not that high that they get? CPAL again was built, and there's a specific team that is responsible just for the migrations. They have built processes and procedures for migrating from all the mainstream ATS vendors, and they've migrated dozens of customers, and they're guaranteeing success. Typically, 1 to 2 weeks to migrate, regardless of your database size, and within a couple of weeks, no more than a month, you're up and going. And again, you have resources that are there that are supporting you, guaranteeing success. Then the final area to think about it is the support costs, or kind of how it's creating the business, the low support that you would have. Starting from getting a new system on board, the training and configuration, typically you're given some literature and some videos and you're on your own, and that goes with the ongoing support. With CPAL, you have a dedicated resource that is basically their success is vested with your success. One of the things that I'm most proud of is that CPAL has the highest customer satisfaction rate in the industry. According to repeated surveys conducted by the analyst firm G2, CPAL again has the highest customer satisfaction rate. 97% of customers are happy with the pace of innovation and the direction where the system is going. 97%. 94% of CPAL customers would recommend the system to a colleague. So these are really high numbers and very, very proud and impressive. Let's look at the other area, job boards. Job boards are a critical source for staffing firms. They help you identify top, qualified, interested candidates. The typical staffing firm typically subscribes for several job boards, 3 to 5, and you end up paying somewhere around $8,000 a month for job boards. So often that's your biggest expense. And yet the sad thing is that that's the area where most of the money gets wasted by your system. In fact, about 70% of resume views are wasted. What happens is that a recruiter would go, get into the system, look at a resume, pay for the resume, and when he or she determines that that's not a fit, moves on, looks at another resume. Well, guess what? Later, next day or later that day, goes in again to look for another job and looks at the same resume again, and you pay for it again. So 30% of job board resume, that's an interesting statistic, are viewed by the same recruiter more than once. And again, you pay for them again and again. And this wastefulness is the leading cause, while the overall cost of job boards and the overall spend for job boards keeps increasing 15% annually. But it doesn't end there. Then some of the largest applicant tracking systems, their sourcing engines are not good enough. So you end up relying on resume aggregators. You have to subscribe to Daxtra or Broadbean and pay additional fees just to get the needed quality and the high quality for sourcing that you need. Now, with CPAL, you never pay twice for the same resume. The key is the way that CPAL integrates with the job board. There's a native integration with all the job boards, which enables recruiters to operate from within CPAL. You don't have to leave CPAL. You don't have to log in separately to the job boards. You do operate as if they're part of your system. And that gives you very, very important benefits. So first, you can search live across your own database and all the job boards right from CPAL. When you do that, you don't have to pay for a resume twice. Anytime you view a resume, it automatically gets downloaded and added to your database. So when your colleague or you look at this resume again later, it gets pulled from your own database. You don't have to pay for it twice. Then again, because it's integrated within the system, you can set and manage the user credits across and assign them to individual recruiters. You can set limits to them, and you can ensure good behavior, and you can eliminate any wastefulness. And finally, you'll never waste your credits. You always maximize them. So with automated cloud-based resume harvesting that CPAL offers, you can configure the system. So at the end of every period, whatever that may be per job board, you can download resumes, maximizing your unused credits so you don't lose them. So you build your database very quickly for free, and you don't have to pay for those resumes when you don't have to. And finally, CPAL has a built-in an industry-leading sourcing engine, so you don't have to pay for an extra aggregator or a sourcing engine. It is you get high-quality searches right within CPAL across the various job boards and within the internal database. So the end result is a very, very significant one. You get over 40% reduction in job board fees, which we actually have documented by doing case studies with our customers. And 40% reduction on your biggest expenditure, the job boards, it's a very, very significant cost savings that you could realize by intelligently managing those views and those credits on the various job boards. Next, let's move into HR and back office. The back office is where you monetize the efforts of your front office team. All the hard work of the sales team, the recruiters, that's where you finally bring those consultants to life. Then that's when you onboard them. And those steps for onboarding and communication to get these transactions to life are very important. So you need to look at your workforce management solutions to make sure that they're up to date and they offer all the capabilities to automate and minimize the cost of this process. Because typically an onboarding documentation process would cost somewhere around $400 per employee. You want to have digital onboarding platforms that give you remote and paperless onboarding and also comply with the various requirements for IP and timestamp capturing and so on. You also want to have integrated background checks. So you want them to ensure the transparent process that follow all the regulatory compliance requirements and give you the reports and logs that you need when you need to pull them out. And finally, you also want to have an integrated communications in any different way that today's candidates want to communicate. You want to have voice over IP integration, text messaging, two-way email sync, video conferencing, alerting, any different way that the modern world is used to communicate with. You want to be able to engage these candidates on any and multiple channels. CPAL gives you all that. Workforce, CPAL Workforce, the back end, the back office management solution that CPAL offers, comes with a dedicated e-boarding module with proprietary e-sign, paperless onboarding platform. You get the timestamping, the IP capture. It's an integrated platform that gives you visibility into all the teams, so sales, recruitment, HR, finance, IT, legal. They all have visibility into every step of the process, whether that's sourcing, assessment of the candidates, onboarding, or managing those employees once they come on board. You have integrated communications. So in fact, CPAL has over 100 different integrations. So various apps to address every need for a staffing company. You also have automated compliance, public access file creation, I-9, LTA management, and custom notification for every action. And the last area, I think it's hugely important to look into it, recruiter productivity. Every applicant tracking system vendor tells you that their system increases productivity. And to a degree, that's true. But I think it's important to dig into and understand what is the degree of productivity? Where do you really get benefits? And are you getting all the benefits that you need to get? Now, it's very difficult for me to put a specific number because that's something for you to do knowing your business. But let's look into the various areas so you can actually make this determination. What is the benefit of improvements there? So what is the benefit for you if you are to have all your recruiters to be able to search live across your database and multiple job boards as opposed to logging in and searching separately into each job board? The time, the quality of searches that they can do, and how much more productive they could get. Now, artificial intelligence is something that has arrived today. So what is the benefit to your business if you have an artificial intelligence engine to aid your recruiters in the search process, that you trust this artificial intelligence and allows you to improve the quality and consistency of searches and the results that they do, and you got that instantly. So all your recruiters, regardless of tenure, how new or how senior they are, can get you high quality results in a much faster time. What if you find the right candidate, but you have to find 10 or 20 more of similar profiles? If you can click a button, and then this artificial intelligence engine would be able to run reverse correlations and figure out how did you arrive to this resume from the job description or this company, and be able to actually clone this candidate and give you, find you another set of profiles that are an exact match or very, very similar to this candidate profile, so you can instantly almost find in additional candidates to submit. Now, spamming consultants is a big concern, and it's one of the most frequent complaints that staffing firms get from consultants, that they're getting so many emails that are not related to what they're looking for, or basically spam. So if you're able to filter out emails and send only the relevant ones to the 50, 10, 50, 100, whatever number of candidates are a fit, and not mass mail everyone with every job requirement you get, how much better would that be for your business in terms of building relationships with candidates and kind of improving your brand? So those are soft, I call, benefits. They're not, I haven't put a specific number, but they could be very, very meaningful on top of the hard cost savings for your business. Now, finally, let me look into the typical costs for a staffing firm with 25 recruiters. We looked into the various different areas. Let's now try to total these areas and see what is the overall cost and what are possible savings that you could get there. So the typical applicant tracking systems using the standard pricing that I mentioned of $100 per seat per user per month per seat. A staffing firm with 25 recruiters will end up paying around $3,300 a month or $36,000 a year. In contrast with CPAL, you end up paying $475 a month or $5,700 a year, which is 85% savings. Then come the job boards, your biggest expenditure. $8,000 a month is the typical that you would end up paying, or $96,000 a year. With CPAL, you get 40% savings. So you end up paying, instead of $8,000, you can optimize those credits and end up paying only $4,800 a month or $57,000 a year. Now, I haven't put any cost for the back office for the typical ATS, but ask yourself, what is the cost of an inefficient back office system that doesn't have the modern integrations and capabilities? And then the recruiter productivity, again, I haven't put hard costs, but how much would you pay if you're able to increase the productivity of your recruiters by 400%? Because again, with artificial intelligence enabled on CPAL, our customers have been able to realize 400% increase in candidate submission rate through this faster, more consistent, higher quality submission process. So your hard costs go down from $132,000 a year to just over $65,000 a year. 50% hard cost savings. Now, looking at this another way, so you end up paying about $35,000 a year for your applicant tracking system, and yet by deploying a system like CPAL, you're able to save $67,000 a year. So this will mean that basically not only are you getting your system for free, but it's almost the equivalent of CPAL writing you an additional check for $30,000 on top of your free system to account for the extra savings that you're getting. So it's a really big number, and whichever way you look at it, my recommendation is try to understand the various costs, add them up, and know that there are ways, there are systems to make a significant change. And I think right now, in the times that we're living in right now with the quarantine and people being confined to home and the impact to business, I would argue that's the best time to evaluate alternatives, to see what are the options to optimize, and to test new things. Because what better time than when business is somehow impacted? You want to do that now, because when business is back to usual, as it will get there, your competitors would have done that. And likely they'll be operating much more efficiently than before this whole impact in the situation that we're in right now. So now's the time to look at, and I strongly encourage you to do some analysis. This 1 hour that you'll spend or half an hour could be very, very impactful for your business. That's the end for my presentation. What I want to do now is to pass the presentation to Amar, who will show you in practice how you can actually get those benefits and how this could work in your firm. Amar, on to you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Peter. So before we transition to our product demo, we're just going to run 2 more quick polls to hear our attendees' thoughts on some timely questions. So I'm just going to launch these polls now. Again, this will just take a couple seconds. So the first question is, which of these measures/changes have you implemented to cope with the pandemic? Okay, wonderful. So great. So the overwhelming majority of us have implemented working from home or remote work, and a distant second is online or video meetings, sort of like a webinar. Okay, and our last question before we transition to our product demo is, which of the below changes will become mainstream industry practices, even in the post-pandemic era? Okay, great. Okay, wow. So we were pretty split on this, but so the equal amount think that work from home and online interviews are going to become mainstream, with remote onboarding as a distant second.